Well, one thing I really like about divination in how it's being viewed more recently is that it's becoming more psychological and less parapsychological. There really is more to do with Carl Jung's take on the collective unconscious going on in a reading than, oh, the guides are moving my hands, or, the woo-woo stuff. I'm not a woo-woo reader. For the amount I charge, I better not be a woo-woo reader. People come to me with issues and problems and situations that they want clarity on. Essentially, all answers are in the collective unconscious. They're in the unconscious mind. How come you don't know it? Because it's unconscious. Big shock. So how do you get that information? Well, the subconscious mind, which is sort of like the layer in between the conscious and the unconscious, speaks in symbols.
It's the ham.
It is. It's the ham and the sandwich. Well, it does speak in symbols, and the subconscious mind is really quite amazing in its ability to process stimuli from this world.
Which comes from your guides and comes from your...
Well, but I also mean just the physical stimuli of the five senses. Just the five senses, let alone. So, believe it or not, your subconscious mind knows what every card is in that deck and where it is. The unconscious mind knows it, but it's the subconscious that shuffles in its way. That's why I tell people shuffle until they feel... Should I cut it in 3? Only if it feels right. When I tend to read, I tend to butterfly the cards at least 3 times. I'm reading for myself. Because I do have a ritual that I do for that. But if it doesn't feel right, I break that ritual. And then usually it's cut 3 times with the left hand. That's
Why
how
the
I
left?
shuffle. I don't know. That's how I learned it.
Intuitive?
Perhaps. It's something I learned from Eileen Connolly in Tarot, A Handbook for the New Apprentice, which was my first book in tarot. It is... I was like, Mom, what does Tetragrammaton mean? She's like, Hebrew name for God. What are you reading? Nothing. It's totally a true story. In the camper, where we were on a vacation. What does Tetragrammaton mean? What does YHVH mean?
Yahweh?
What are you reading? Nothing.
The Kabbalah?
Yeah. At 12. Yeah, no, I've since found easier books to work with. But therein lies the point. As a reader, like if there are any actual readers watching this, because I know I try and get as much information as I can, but if you really think you're the be-all, end-all, you're not going to listen to other people's take on stuff.
Which isn't healthy either.
It isn't. Once the teacher fails to be a student, they're done for.
And so are the readings.
But also, yeah, absolutely. I constantly try and educate myself. Not that I'm reading so many books on it, but when somebody reads me, I can't help it. I'm like, what spread are they using?
Which we'll talk about next, folks.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on? Well, that's interesting. It's interesting how they lay that out. It's like, it's kind of like I'm stealing their material. I'm like...
And some of them don't even, they use the cards, they don't even read the symbols on the cards. They get images in their own head about...
and I'll say that's true of me. When I'm reading somebody, there's so much multi-sensory stuff going on that the cards are mostly for my client.
So they become a conduit for you and a symbol for your client.
And a guide. The truth is I could sit here and open up my senses and call in my guides, because I have guides like that Verizon commercial, except they're not behind me, they're in front of me when I read. They're everywhere, and I mean they're like thousands of them. The other day I read one of my tarot students, who's a brilliant reader, Jen. See if she's watching this. Shout out to Jen. Gen V, we call her. And as she sat down and started shuffling the cards, you could feel the room fill up. She's like, whoa, it's busy in this room. And it was so cool. It was such a great reading because we were so on the same page. But I could sit here and I could read you all day long and not get around to specific things. That's why you use cards, in my opinion. That's why I use any divination system, is to help focus it in this particular area through intention. So if you're sitting there saying, show me my career as a producer, is very different than will I be successful as a producer, because success is relative. Right. Show me my career. Allows your mind to focus. The conscious mind focuses, the subconscious aligns the cards, and the unconscious gives the information and channels it through the levels. Now you could do that for yourself, and anybody could, but until you can do that with a certain amount of objectivity, You're not going to get all the information. That's why you go for a reader. Someone who has cleaned their own channel to the extent where at least they can get accuracy.
And you're not pulling your own stuff into it
Yeah.
to color.
It's
the,
really
the
hard to
symbols.
read for yourself because then, you know, when you start out, oh, the lovers mean I'm going to be in love. And honestly, the card of the lovers has
Not
more
a
to
great
do with
card
decision.
sometimes.
Yeah, no, it has more to do with decisions. That's why Adam and Eve is often, well, at least in the Rider-Waite version and many extrapolations, themes on the variations on the theme, you see Adam and Eve. Now, that point of Adam and Eve is right before they eat the apple. That's a major decision. That's really what that card is about. But people think, oh, I'm going to be in love.